All right, Fanny, you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Theo, you there?
I'm here.
Introducing authentic realness. 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 Hello, and hello again, everyone. This is the one and only Aaron R. Plush, and we're back for another episode of our Authentic Realness podcast. Realness. Tonight, we are excited to be back. It has been a roller coaster ride of life, if you will, for the past couple of weeks here, and attempting to make some strides toward normalcy and to not get back anywhere, but to accept the new realities of life that we all have at this moment. So, Fabby, Theo, thank you both for being on. Fabby, say hello. And is there anything that you'd like to share with our audience tonight?
Hi, everyone. Just excited to be here for another week and getting back into the groove of things.
Excellent. And Theo has been in rare form. I don't know who we're going to get during the episode, but during our preparation, he definitely was a Theo that we have not experienced in this environment. So consider yourselves warned and let's see what happens. So, Theo, what would you like to share with our audience tonight?
I am good to go. I'm just grateful to be here. And I'm just in a spirit of gratitude once again. And I'm really understanding the idea of just commanding your day. I know we've talked about
Okay.
it a few episodes here and there. It's been sprinkled throughout. Just the 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 method of you speak life into your day, and just going back to
Right.
being spectacular always. And I'm just really in a place of under
As always.
yeah, as always, just understanding that for my life. You know what I mean? Speaking of those
We
things, it's
love
one
this,
thing.
Theo.
Yeah,
We do love this
it's
Theo.
one thing to hear other people say it, or like when I talk to you pretty much every other day, and I hear you say it all the time. But it's another thing when you take hold of those gems from other persons and you apply it to your life, how it affects your whole day. And I start
Look at
my
that.
day with, you know what? I'm good regardless. That's my phrase.
Hmm.
And no matter what was thrown at me today, my response was, I'm good regardless. So
I love
that's
it.
where I am right.
I'm good regardless. That's good stuff, brother. And definitely being in a spirit of gratitude is not a bad place to be. I know that you've been there since your birthday. And thank God for life. Thank God for you acknowledging how significant a birthday is and the fact that you've been in what one would consider a good mood since then. So thank you for bringing that energy on. Fabi, I'm going to be messy tonight. Something that I never am, but the fact that Theo knows how to appropriately use idea is great for me.
Oh my gosh, I'm done.
It's just so wonderful to hear idea being used appropriately.
Oh my gosh, that's
Oh my God.
hilarious.
Okay. All right. I had to get that out. See, it's Theo's fault. He came on with all this energy and did come on with his Darth Vader voice on, which now has prompted me to have a moment. So just look at how energy works.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, okay. I needed that laugh. That was a good laugh that was needed. But with that, Theo, thank you for setting us up. And I don't necessarily even know that you intended to do that. But let's jump right in. And with tonight's episode, we are echoing and picking up where Theo left off. And our episode topic title for tonight, and we're going very current. Look at me acknowledging my youthfulness and a catchphrase and the fact that we're adding ing to everything these days, which is something that I did a long time ago, just for the record. And because one of the phrases that I always talked about was wowing, like so wow with ing, meaning that that's what I attempted to do when I did events and those type things. That it was just to make it more of an active thing rather than just being wow, but wowing. But in these times, our theme topic for tonight is life is lifing. I'll say that again for those that may not know the context of that. I will break it down for you. All that simply means is that we've added an ing to life, and we are saying that life is doing what life does. And ultimately, with that, it is one of those situations where I'm recognizing that everyone I talk to seems to be going through something right now. And certainly, there may be the listeners that say, like, well, Plush, when is that not the case? And I would agree with that. Yet it just seems that everyone that I talk to right now, that there is some significant life, something going on. And being the God fearing man that I am, I don't take this lightly, nor do I take it from a vantage point of that it's surface or if it's just something in the physical. I'm definitely of the mindset that something's occurring in the world, in the spiritual realm, and not going to take this down the path of being an overly religious conversation. Yet you all know that God, Christianity, my love for Jesus Christ is a part of who I am all day, every day. And I just want to implore everyone to truly consider the intriguing nature right now. Now, for tonight's topic of life is lifing, I am going to draw parallels between my life experiences that I'm having, what's going on with Theo, Fabi, and others that I know of, while still yet bringing that back to me as a consultant. Because, as a reminder and a newsflash, this podcast, this Authentic Realness podcast, is all about the 8 services that I offer as a consultant. And that never changes. That will always be the case. Around that, however, we know that there are so many other elements and dynamics as well as layers that goes along with me, the consultant. So tonight's episode is going to provide us with the opportunity to talk through some of those life practices that I've identified, that when life is lifing, when consulting is consulting, when businesses are businessing, when things are going on in a way that it may not necessarily be our expected results and outcomes, that we still can remain positive. I have found that when I am in difficult situations, and I don't care how big or small, it's so much better to look for the bright side. It's so much better to look at, well, what's the purpose of this? What's the lesson in this? Rather than the typical gloom and doom. Oh my God, what am I going to do? This is horrible. This is terrible. And just speaking so much negativity. My challenge for us tonight is to think through whatever it is that we all might be going through. What's the lesson in it? What's the purpose? What's the silver lining? What's the bright side? How can we look at it from a positive perspective? So that's the landscape of what we're talking about tonight. And I'm going to pick on you first, Fabi. When
Sure.
I presented this particular topic for tonight, what first came to mind, and what's on your mind right now?
Yeah, the first thing that came to mind for me was, of course, as you mentioned, just the different headspaces folks are in. There's so
Mm-hmm.
much going on in the world, personal, work,
Mm-hmm.
family, whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it's hard, as much as I try to have a positive mindset. Sometimes it's just hard,
It
and
is.
sometimes you get down,
Yeah.
and you do everything you can, but it's still a little bit challenging. But one thing for me that stays true and true, no matter what, is the power of prayer,
Mm-hmm.
talking to God, communicating with God, and just really having those conversations and moments with Him. And I feel like that really allows me to just ground myself. So I think it's important, depending, of course, on what folks practice, but to just really take that time to be present with yourself and God. And at the end of the day, there's really only so much we can control.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that's something that I've been really focusing on for myself as well, is what do I really have control over, and then focusing on those things, and the things that I cannot control, just letting it be.
Yeah. And I tell you, Fabi, one of the things that is great that you said, because I do want to remind folks, let's be very clear. We've said this on previous episodes, but it is important that we say it here because I'm not going to kid myself that everyone has listened to all of our episodes. We're tap dancing around 30 ish now. So to say that someone's listened to all 30, that would be a stretch. And or you might not remember this. But let's be very clear as we're painting this story tonight of positivity and how you can look at the silver lining and how you can address life as lifing. Please allow yourself to go through the full spectrum. That there's nothing wrong with a grieving process. There's nothing wrong with a family being in a period of bereavement. There's nothing wrong with you acknowledging that, hey, I am ticked off by what my manager said to me today. There's nothing wrong with you experiencing the full spectrum of whatever your family situation might be it relationship, be it marriage, be it whatever. Please ensure that you allow yourself the opportunity to be human because all of those emotions that I just described are natural human emotions. And we would be
I think
remiss. Go ahead, Fabi.
what I'll what I'll add to that, Aaron, is something that I've been doing or trying to catch myself doing is when folks, I mean, of course, depending who asks, but when folks really ask you, like, how are you doing or how are you feeling? Like,
Mm-hmm.
just be honest
Mm-hmm.
because I feel like we like to just say, oh, I'm good, everything's fine, yada, yada, yada. But
Mm-hmm.
I feel like when you do have those open and honest conversations, you're more relatable. And then it kind of takes, it just allows it to be a more personal conversation as
Sure,
well.
sure. And it allows people who really do need to check in on you. Because if you say you're okay, then we are accepting that you are okay. Now,
Hmm.
me, I'm very sensing, so I'm not going to allow that and I'm not going to accept that and I'm going to pry until you tell me what's up. But everyone isn't going to necessarily do that. So, but where I
Right.
was going is I want to make sure that people are allowing themselves the ability to go through those that full sea of emotions, all those spectrums that we all need to go through. And certainly I would be remiss, as I was saying, that in being a God fearing man who truly loves the Lord, to think that those emotions are not things that he created for us to be able to cope in this life thing. The key, though, is keeping him first. The key, though, is praying. The key is attempting to not be in your place of potential darkness forever. To allow yourself to go through that, just don't stay there. Get up. And that getting up process may be slower for some than others. Now, for me, I have found that it works from a vantage point of acknowledging what it is. And then because my constant is God, it doesn't allow me to stay in a place of darkness long because I'm so quick to snap out of it because of God is my constant, not my default. He's my constant. And I thank my good friend Will for bringing that to my attention many years ago when I'd mentioned that, oh, well, God is my default. He's like, nah, I know you do. Like, that's not the case. God is definitely your constant. And words are powerful. So, in that, we are saying, go to God, be in prayer, trust God, go to your counselors, go to your therapists, talk to whomever you need to talk to, go through your full spectrum of emotions, do what you have to do for you, yet make every attempt to ground yourself with being able to have an overall essence of positivity. And by all means, as Fabi is alluding, it's not easy. It is a task. It is a job to be able to look for the silver lining in all things. It is a task. It is a job to be able to be positive in all things. It is a task. It is a job to understand purpose in all things. And I'd even tell you for me that one of the biggest issues that I've had to overcome is getting over self to be able to look at positivity, to get over self to be able to look at purpose, to get over self to view things from a big picture vantage point that it's so much bigger than Aaron Plush. Theo, what about for you, sir? When we mentioned this topic for tonight, what was on your mind and what is on your mind now?
The first thing that came to my mind is it is what it is.
Okay.
Every day you wake up, life gonna do what life gonna do. It's just gonna be. It's
Okay.
how you go about it and what you manifest within yourself and what you're telling yourself how the outcome is going to be. If
Okay.
you allow the stipulations and the rigmarole of life to get to you, yeah, your life gonna be all over the place. But
Okay.
when you command your day with those positive words of affirmation, if you command your day no matter what, it is what it is. Life won't be life, and life will just be life.
Okay.
So that's the first thing that came to my mind.
Okay. And in very certain terms, and we've talked about this before, it's that whole concept that it's not if life happens, it's when life happens.
Most definitely.
So when life happens, how do you choose to respond to life happening? So to your point, when life is lifing, you can choose
That's it.
how you're going to respond.
That's it.
So often we go with whatever way the wind blows.
Hmm.
We go with I'm a victim. Someone has wronged me. The oh, this is something against my family. Oh, I've done something wrong, so God is punishing me. And all these other things that we like to concoct in our minds, where it very well may just simply be that there's been an experience, life has happened. Now, what am I going to do to respond to life happening? Anything else from you, Theo, which is definitely a great point to bring forward in this powerful conversation about life.
I think for
It's
me,
definitely lifing.
for sure. I think for me, it goes back to my initial statements on our session tonight.
Look at that. You were doing so well, but go ahead.
You really, and we've said it so many times throughout our many sessions and our many calls, where you command and control the trajectory of your life.
Okay.
If you sit there and allow your circumstances to dictate everything and dictate your outcome, you
Mm-hmm.
have to sit in those consequences.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you change your mindset and you change how you go about things and you change how you think of things and how you speak on things, the outcome will be what you want the outcome to be.
Sure.
Even if it's not instant gratification, a lot of times when we wake up and something goes wrong, we're looking for the solution and the resolution to happen within that first 5 minutes. It may take the rest of the day for the outcome to change. It may take tomorrow, it may take next week, but if your mind and your words and your actions are not aligned with positivity, life's gonna get the best of you. Of course, life
Yeah.
happens. It is what it is. It's gonna be good
Yeah.
regardless.
And another part of that, Theo, is that we have to remember and accept in very certain terms that everything in life is not going to be
Oh,
great.
for sure.
That there are a couple of sermons that come to mind for me. And one of them is when I first moved to New York. And I remember Reverend James Jameson preached this particular sermon at the Brookland Baptist Church in Columbia, South Carolina. And he talked about the fact that God promises safe passage, not an easy ride. And if you break that down, what that's telling you, and for me, it was so appropriate because I was making this move from South Carolina to New York. And I needed to hear that message that, hey, sir, this whole process of you getting to New York and what the job situation is going to look like and what the journey is going to look like, please understand you're up for a roller coaster ride, sir. But know what God is promising you is you're going to get there safely. And that getting there safely may very well not have been while I was still in New York. It might have been when I moved over to Chicago. It may very well might have been as I was going around the globe in all these many cities that I was consulting in. It may very well could have been then. It could have been when I moved here to South Florida. It could be future. But the bottom line remains that God promises safe passage, not an easy ride. We too often are looking for an easy ride. We too often are expecting for every day to be sunshine. Well, for those of us who live in South Florida, we understand what that means, that you can have this downpour that looks like the world is coming to an end. And lo and behold, 2 seconds later, the sun is back out.
Mhm.
You could have moments where there is this downpour of rain on your side of the street, but the other side of the street, the sun is literally out. And these are not things that I'm exaggerating. This is truth. Fabi, you can attest to it. You live here. These are real deal situations that we deal with. So it's
Absolutely.
very important that we focus on the fact that God promises safe passage, not an easy ride. From the same tremendous and wonderful church, the lead and head pastor, the Reverend Dr. Charles B. Jackson Sr., preached this sermon that talked about how certainly we all go through things. Certainly we all will have those moments where things are not that great. But you have to be very cautious of someone who's never coming out of their rainy season. Like if you have someone who's just constantly always in a bad place, there's never a moment that anything's ever good, that they're coming out of this situation, that they see brighter days. We need to be a little cautious of those
Man,
folks.
that's exhausting.
It is exhausting, but it's also likely not anyone's reality. That there is some good that we all are going to see at some point or another. Now, as you're going to your good, and as you're going to that place of better, chances are you're about to go back into your place of that roller coaster coming right back down. But at some point or another, you can't always be going through the horrible moments because that's just not God's order. That's just not how God works.
Mm-hmm.
So I say all of that to say that we want to be comprehensive. We want to look at this holistically. We want to be fair to all emotions. We want to be fair to the truth and our reality. My mom is like, oh, you live in this fantasy world. She likes to always tell me like, oh, that's just not how the rest of us live. Okay, mother. But I still am going to go on the side that the world is still yet a better place than it is bad. And that we all have better and more good days than we do bad. It's just a matter of how we go about holistically looking at it. And certainly it's very hard to see sunshine when you're in your thunderstorm. And I acknowledge that. The push for tonight is for us to holistically, in our personal lives, in our professional lives, in our corporate lives, in our spiritual lives, in every aspect of our life, the push for tonight is for us all to find the silver lining. The push is for us all to find the good moments. The push is for us to think about how we can be spectacular as always, not because our situations is always great, but because God is always great. Because I have found with God as my constant, that regardless of what I'm going through, good, bad, or indifferent, the goodness of God does not change. The greatness of God does not change. The situation may have changed. My feelings may have changed, but God remains the same because he's constantly and consistently the same. That's where I find the ability to be spectacular as always. That's where I find the ability to be that one that brings forth the silver lining. That's where I am the one who's looking to say, hey, there's still positivity in this. It's all about how we choose to respond, how we choose to view the situation, and when we look at it from a vantage point that's bigger than us.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I can tell you it's very hard to look beyond anything when you are in the depths of your situation, particularly if it's something negative, bad, unexpected, etc. But as intelligent beings, God has given us all an innate ability, if we so choose, because we have free will, to be able to still yet see positive in the darkest of moments. And that may be personally at the workplace, with me as a consultant, with whatever's going on. Life just becomes so much easier to live when we live it from a place of positivity. Life becomes so much easier to live when we live it from a place of having a level of, I truly know better is ahead. I am going to be optimistic. I know that I'm going to have a great day. I know it's spectacular as always. Although it's raining right now, I know it's not going to rain forever. Those are the key takeaways that I want us to leave tonight's session with. Theo, I will defer to you and allow you to give closing thoughts as well.
My closing thoughts will be just like we started. At the end of the day, I'm good regardless. That's all I got.
This Theo, let's see if he shows up again for our next episode next week. And then Fabi, what about you, my friend?
For me, even though I know sometimes when people say this, I know when people would say this to me, I thought it was kind of corny, but
Okay.
it really is true that time really does heal things.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying you're going to be fully healed, but it really
Absolutely.
just makes things easier to process. So it's like giving yourself grace to, no matter how long it takes for folks, it's just like, just knowing that it will be okay.
No doubt about it. Time is definitely an ultimate healer.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there's no set time frame,
Right.
but over time, things do have a way of getting better. And that's not that you forget, but you certainly can be in a better place. All right, my friends, what a tremendous episode tonight. Let's look to the Lord. Heavenly Father, God, we come to you right now, God, just thanking you for who you are, God. And God, we thank you for such a powerful episode tonight. God, as we were talking through this topic tonight of life is lifing, I just felt that there was such a synergy between the three of us, between Fabi, Theo, and I, in the messaging of tonight, that we were able to align on positivity. We were able to align on you. We were able to align on this is that encouraging session. This is that session that we are praying that each and every person might leave the listening of this episode in a better place than they were when they started listening to it. God, we thank you for the platform and the opportunity to be able to be people of you that are truly embarking upon a path and journey of bringing light to this dark world. God, we would ask that you would just continue to cover the world because certainly, God, we need it. As I talked about in this particular episode, there are just so many people that are going through things, God, and I'm not going to name any of them by name, but I certainly am just lifting them all up. God, I'm lifting before you the Lord you know prayer because certainly, God, you know all about all of the details of every person. And I just want to lift all of those things before you right now. God, you know that your Lord you know prayer is the ultimate prayer of surrender, that when we don't have the words to pray, just saying, Lord, you know, is that prayer where we truly just asking you, God, to search all of us and to allow those things that are spoken and unspoken to be lifted before you. So, God, we just ask that you would continue to cover our families, that you would continue to just touch us in a tremendous way and to move us all forward. So, God, we love you, we adore you, and it's in the glorious and magnificent name of your Son, Jesus, that we pray. Amen.
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 All right. And as for our listeners, we definitely thank you all for every Wednesday tuning in and hearing our new episodes. This particular episode of Life is Lifing is definitely a powerful one already. And we just thank you for your support because we know for certain that the greatest part of this Authentic Realness podcast is each and every one of you.
Realness.
And although we say this with every episode, we do not take it lightly, nor do we take it for granted. We thank you all for your support. Now, for those of you that are considering podcasts of your own, I cannot express enough how happy and pleased I am with Buzzsprout. And as I've said on many other episodes before, that the biggest component of Buzzsprout is that when my team does the uploading to Buzzsprout, Buzzsprout automatically posts this particular podcast episode on so many other platforms. It provides us the opportunity to continue to grow. And certainly that is a significant part of what we're doing, that we want as many ears as possible to be able to hear the tremendous messaging that we have for me as a consultant, as well as all the wisdom and knowledge that we're giving. So again, if you're looking at starting your podcast, Buzzsprout is definitely the route you want to go. And in our typical closing way, until next time, let us all be spectacular together.
Realness.